Welcome back to the Department of Reason. Today, we've got breaking news coming out of 1700s Europe. What can you tell us, Justin?
Hello, Caroline. So far, I can confirm the violent war out east, a nasty plague over in the west, and a devastating famine in both the north and the south.
Oh, war, disease, famine. In the face of all this suffering, how are people coping?
There's actually a growing philosophical movement here that combats all of this suffering through sheer positivity.
And how exactly are they combating it?
By being positive, Caroline.
Yes, I know. Can you clarify what this philosophy believes?
I'm told the official name for this is philosophical optimism. Supporters of this movement believe that humans live in the best of all possible worlds. They believe everything happens for a reason, so everything, no matter how awful, must be for the best.
You mentioned the growing popularity of this movement. Does everyone in Europe share this belief?
Not exactly, Caroline. I'm told at least one Enlightenment author, Voltaire, seems skeptical of this approach. He's written a satirical novella called Candide to put this type of optimism to the test.
Thanks, Justin. So, this philosophical optimism is in response to suffering, and Voltaire wrote Candide in response to this belief. We'll take a closer look at all of this in today's lesson. Your mission: to explore how Voltaire uses parody to challenge this thinking and to evaluate the effectiveness of a character's argument in Candide. Grab your guided notes and come on! Last time you looked at Swift's satire, analyzing how he used hyperbole and understatement to criticize his target. Today we'll look at a new satirical tool: parody. Parody is a satirical technique that imitates aspects of a person, thing, or idea in order to criticize it. Sometimes this imitation will exaggerate the satirical target, signaling to the reader what is meant to be criticized. Other times they don't need to exaggerate, signaling to the reader that the criticism is easy to spot on its own. Let's take a look at what our source of parody today is actually about. This novella tells the story of Candide, a young man living in the Baron of Westphalia's castle, studying under his trusty tutor, Professor Pangloss. And what exactly does Pangloss teach? Well, he is the professor of metaphysico-theologico-cosmologology. Ever heard of that? Of course not. His credentials are a joke, but that's the point. Voltaire gives him this ridiculous title to tip us off. Pangloss is a parody of a philosopher. He's supposed to look ridiculous. So other than its title, how else does Voltaire make Pangloss look ridiculous? And what exactly is he mocking about philosophical optimists? Let's take a closer look. Here's how we'll break it down. We'll look at what Pangloss says and see what sort of issues we can find with his logic. Then we'll figure out why Voltaire might want us to view Pangloss with skepticism. So let's take a look at Pangloss's claim and see if it holds up. Pangloss proved admirably that there is no effect without a cause, and that in this best of all possible worlds, the Baron's castle was the most magnificent of castles, and his lady the best of all possible baronesses. It is demonstrable, said he, that things cannot be otherwise than as they are, for all being created for an end, all is necessarily for the best end. So what exactly is Pangloss saying? He says that the world he lives in is the best of all possible worlds. Everything was made for a purpose, so everything that happens must be for the best. Talk about seeing the glass as half full. So we know what he thinks, but what's the flaw in his logic? Here's the issue. His claim is very broad and doesn't explain how or why it's true. Like, how is the Baron's castle the most magnificent? Why is his lady the best of all baronesses? He just states his opinion as a cold, hard fact. Okay, not exactly a strong start to Pangloss's argument, but maybe he has some strong evidence to back it up. Let's see how he supports it. Observe that the nose has been formed to bear spectacles. Thus, we have spectacles. Legs are visibly designed for stockings, and we have stockings. So what exactly is Pangloss saying here? First, think back to his claim. Everything has a purpose and is for the best. Now he's supporting it by giving examples of specific things that exist for specific purposes. But does his argument hold any weight? Look closely at those examples. What's the flaw in his logic? Pause and add it to your notes. His logic is reversed. He's stating causes as effects and effects as causes. Noses weren't made for glasses. Glasses were made to fit noses. So, let me get this straight. Pangloss has a claim with no rationale, and his evidence to support it is illogical. How does this shape our view of Pangloss? I only see two options. Either he's clueless and we think of him as empty-headed, or he's twisting the logic on purpose and we think of him as deceitful. All right, we've unpacked a lot of Pangloss's argument, and it's not looking good so far. Let's see how he finishes it, and what message Voltaire is trying to send to readers. Consequently, they who assert that all is well have said a foolish thing. They should have said all is for the best. Pangloss is saying everything that happens in the world is for the best. Huh. Doesn't that sound familiar? What's the flaw in Pangloss's logic here? He's using circular reasoning. He literally just paraphrases his claim as if his confidence alone proves it. Imagine if I argued that my glass is half full, because it can't be filled anymore. And for Pangloss, the world is perfect because it can't get better? Remember, parody is often about exposing an idea by showing just how absurd it can sound. We know Voltaire is using this character to make fun of philosophical optimism, but let's get specific. Think about the fact that Pangloss represents real thinkers in the age of enlightenment. What message is Voltaire trying to send about philosophical optimists in real life? By making Pangloss sound confident but clueless, Voltaire hints that real-world optimists might come off the same way. Out of touch, naive, or even illogical. Believing that everything is for the best might seem wise or comforting, but to Voltaire, it looks foolish. He's suggesting that people who cling to that mindset might not be thinking critically, or might be ignoring reality altogether. Voltaire parodies Pangloss to mock philosophical optimists, mimicking their argument to highlight its flaws. He criticizes a mindset that avoids reality and ignores human suffering. Ultimately, Voltaire pushes us to ask, is everything really for the best? Or is it just easier to pretend it is? In the next part of the lesson, you'll look at some of the adventures from Candide, and some more criticisms too. As you read, keep thinking about how Voltaire uses humor to ask hard questions and poke holes in real-life arguments. His satire doesn't just entertain, it challenges us to look past comforting ideas and face reality with clarity.
Hey, hey.